Ladies and gentlemen, if you are joining us, um, we've been scheduled to try and get this episode out for a while, and now that we're finally here, let's let's dive in where we can. Ladies and
Yes,
gentlemen,
sir.
we are missing Hayes. Hayes is celebrating the birthday of his daughter. Happy birthday, Hayes' daughter.
Happy
Uh,
birthday to Hayes' daughter, man. Shout out to him.
Yep. But From the Logo is back, and we are here to kick off by talking about Lakers basketball, even though we're going to transition into some Warriors later on. Because Gifted, how you feeling, brother?
Feeling good, man. First off, happy to be back. We've been gone for quite some time. Expect some more improved regularity, but schedules or overall illnesses and whatnot. We are getting to the final stretch, but the season has officially started. A lot of good basketball to get to in this episode. Also, there's no games on today, so it gives us a ton of time to just reflect on how the season has been going. So I'm excited, man. Truly.
Yes, sir. Chat. Love y'all. Welcome back. Desto, what's good? Jeremiah, what's good? Jay Carter,
What's good, Desto?
Daniel, what's good? Claro, what's good? What's good, everybody? So I guess Gifted, let's kick things off with last night. How many Lakers fans we got in the chat tonight? We're gonna designate a significant portion of this episode to y'all. So if y'all feel some type of way about the Los Angeles Lakers and what you want to see like improve and all that shit, go ahead and feel free to drop them in the comments and we'll pull it up and we'll discuss. But for you, Gifted, last night, Lakers lose a battle to the Detroit Pistons, who, by the way, have more wins than the Milwaukee Bucks this year.
Let's talk about it, man. Let's talk about it.
The Pistons are 3-5, ladies and gentlemen. Now, quick show of hands. How many people thought that was realistically that was what you was going to see through 8 games for the Detroit Pistons, a 3-5 record? As a matter of fact, how many of y'all thought that y'all would see a better win percentage through 8 games, through 10 games between the Pistons and the Milwaukee Bucks? We got to talk about it. And
I didn't see that coming.
We got to talk about it. But look, last night, you get 20 points, you get 8 rebounds, you get 11 assists from our GOAT, LeBron James. 37, 9, and 4 from Anthony Davis. Now, here's the thing. We need to talk about Anthony Davis for MVP consideration, ladies and gentlemen. The fact that Anthony Davis doesn't have an MVP to his name, doesn't have a Defensive Player of the Year to his name, these are things that need to be discussed. All right, for a player his caliber, the one thing that you were asking for was consistency. And let me tell you this: we need to start talking more about the fact that Anthony Davis washed and wiped the label of street clothes right off his shoulders, and then passed it to guys like Kawhi Leonard and guys like Joel Embiid and Paul George, and the list might go Zion Williamson. Like, that label of Chris Middleton, that label of street clothes does not apply to Anthony Davis, hasn't applied to him for the last season and a half. I think it's about time that warrants some award consideration. What you think, Gifted?
I gotta say, man, shout out to Anthony Davis. I think for years we've talked about him like officially like claiming his team as his team as Bron gets older. I feel like last year he did a good job of playing consistent basketball for them at a very high level, but obviously the way he started out this year, I mean, he's leading the entire NBA in points per game. His defense has looked very, very good, and he looks clearly like the best player on the Lakers. There is no conversation about is it AD, is it LeBron. Bron has not started out this season well. Anthony Davis, every single game is giving you pretty much high production in points. AD has been a dog to start for sure, and I think this is the adjustment that people want to see from this Lakers team, right? Where oftentimes they weren't sure of how they're going to consistently get him the ball. JJ Redick has already done a much better job than Darvin Ham at constructing an offense around Anthony Davis at a higher level. And once LeBron starts actually playing much better basketball, they should look like a better team, even though they still have a lot of flaws on their roster still. Like, they need to get Vandal back for his point of attack defense. They really need that. Rui Hachimura has not been great on that side of the ball as much, and D'Lo's terrible. So, those are my quick overview thoughts before we get into the game. As far as the Pistons, though, you know where I'm at, baby.
Talk to me.
313 Gifty in the building. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
I thought Detroit could look a lot better this year. So far, they've been competitive in every single game. The Pistons versus Pacers game was one of my favorite games to watch this season. They came very, very close to winning. Same thing can be said for the Boston game. And you want to know what player cost them in all these games where they could be like 4-1 right now?
Who that?
Tobias fucking Harris.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yes, sir.
Tobias Harris is the reason, and like it's crazy because he has better games, but down the stretch in these close fourth quarter games, if y'all are watching the games the way I am every time, Tobias is getting wide open corner shots, y'all. Wide open. Right? Even in the fourth quarter last night versus the Lakers, where they were desperately choking the game in a way, Tobias is getting open looks, still cannot knock it out from the corner. Yeah. Still, like like he has cost him so much. But thankfully, Tim Hardaway Jr., with his fake shooting self, it's been going crazy the entire year so far for them, and they're winning more games. Cade has also looked very, very good. Jaden Ivey taking a step, man. Like, I'm just so happy to see him playing basketball at a high level, because last year a lot of people gave up on him because Hamani Williams was such a bad coach. But you're seeing the impacts of him, getting a real chance. So I like the Pistons. I feel like people who expected them to just walk over and get blown out by 30 points to the Lakers have not watched Detroit play basketball this year. This is not the same team that lost 27 games in a row. They might not be a playoff team either, but they're still much better to start this year. Yeah.
And here's the thing about the Pistons for me. Like you said, some people might have thought that they would get, smoked by 30. But the thing for me, is the Pistons last year, like we've talked about it, they were always in games. It was just about the finish. Like, we could talk about how bad the Pistons were as a team overall, but like the main focal point, not talking about last year, but the main focal point that you really went to was like, oh shit, in the fourth quarter, they may be in games. They just don't know how to end or close those games. The same problem that plagued a team, like you just mentioned, the Indiana Pacers last year in the Eastern Conference Finals. And then you look at a team like Phoenix in the fourth quarter, who was like dead last in everything in the fourth quarter last year in the regular season. Like, though that was the pit that the Pistons were in. They were in that same pit where you could say, like, you couldn't definitively say they were going to get their ass like beat or they were going to get destroyed by 30. You knew that they were just going to lose at the end of the day. Looking at the game last night that I did actually watch, because I did purchase League Pass this year.
W.
Watching what I saw though with this Lakers team in general, and chat, go ahead and chime in. Like I said, if you're all Lakers fans, chime in the chat. Tell us what you think is wrong or right with the Los Angeles Lakers this year so far. For me, what I've noticed is, and we'll get into it more and more as the show goes on, but like the title topic, is Anthony Davis now the Lakers' best player? This question, Gifted, should have been asked and answered 4 or 5 years ago in the 2019 season when he first landed there. Because when you think about it, when LeBron decided to leave Cleveland to go to Los Angeles, my initial thought process was, and everybody else's was, he's going to get Anthony Davis. Somehow, some way, Anthony Davis is going to end up as a Los Angeles Laker. And then when he got there, I was like, this makes perfect sense. LeBron is twinkling into his twilight years, and he needs a reliable, younger, dominant option at his position and all that. He needs that to be able to defer to, right?
Yeah.
What we saw in, 3-4 years time was Anthony Davis constantly in and out of the lineup. We saw shades of a top 2 center in the league, maybe number 1. And then we would see shades of street clothes. And so we couldn't really find that fine line, and the Lakers needed to find that for them to not only win multiple championships, not just one, not just the bubble ring. And so now we find ourselves with, in the JJ Redick era of Los Angeles. And I think to myself, JJ Redick is saying to everybody, before the season starts, look, we're trying to feed the ball to Anthony Davis. We want him to be the number 1 option. We want the offense to revolve around him. And so I'm like, okay, I believe that JJ Redick is going to get that through to the team. And so far, we've seen Anthony Davis this season shooting 64% true shooting from the field, 33 a game, 12 rebounds, 3 assists. He ain't really passing the ball much. He ain't got to 57% from the field, and only like maybe 2 threes a game. I'll give him maybe 2 threes a game. So that high volume of 3-point shooting that we used to question 2 seasons ago with Anthony Davis, he's answered it. He's getting everything from the mid-range to the post to the low block, hook shots, offensive putbacks and lobs. He is dominating right now. And not Absolutely. Just that, the statement games that I've seen from him. Like, I put in a bet last night. If you don't bet, don't bet. If you do, welcome to the curse. I put in a bet last night. I was like, you know what? Anthony Davis, his over-under was like 27. I was like, yeah, he going over. And what'd he do? Damn near 40 consistently. If you look at Anthony Davis's last 5 games, Gifted, 3 of them, he has had 30 or more points. So from an offensive perspective, you can tell that the JJ Redick, what he wanted to get through to everybody is what's happening on the court. The the ins and outs of the Lakers is where we have to go in this conversation. All right, because LeBron, like Gifted said, slow start. He's 50. All right, give him a fucking break. But LeBron, slow start. So now what do, Gifted? You have to rely on those other pieces, those Austin Reeves, Rui Hachimura, who has been playing phenomenal as well. Shout out Rui. Shout out Big Japan. Austin Reeves, Rui, D'Lo. And you look at what their production is giving you, and you're saying, Rui's been great. Reeves has been solid. D'Lo's been mid as fuck. But the bench is where you go next. And then you realize how thin the Lakers really are. So for me, obviously being a Warriors fan, we got the deepest team in the league. Argue with your mother. But the Los Angeles Lakers can't even be in this conversation, can't even be in the room right now because that's how thin their bench is. Lakers fans, tell me if I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I understand. Y'all have been throwing around the names of how many times have you heard a Lakers fan in the last year and a half tell you Gabe Vincent, Jared Vanderbilt? But like
I want to be brutally honest. I know a lot of Lakers fans. The last name they're saying is Gabe Vincent. Everyone thinks he's bad ever since he signed over. Cool. Just to be fair. Just to be fair.
All right. But Lakers fans, back me up on this. Like the going into last season for sure, I know for a fact that they looked at guys like Gabe Vincent, guys like Jared Vanderbilt to be the difference makers to make up for certain areas. Gabe Vincent, of course, to make up for D'Lo whenever he decided to shit the bed. And then Jared Vanderbilt, they were, raving about his defense. All right, apparently niggas don't like Gabe Vincent. Cool. I got it. Take his name out of there. Overrated, overhyped, never want to hear his name again. But guys like that, when you look at them and you say, okay, what do they have for a second option? What do they have for that second unit? How thin can they run? Max Christie, Jackson Hayes, right? Dalton Connect. Right, Dalton Connect, I'm a big fan of. Hopefully, he gets more run.
He's been good.
He's been solid. He's been the sharpshooter they need. So hopefully, he continues on that progression. But outside of that, when you look around, the Lakers don't really have much help outside of what they can produce in the starting lineup. So, Gifted, Mike, throw this back to you. What are you? Is that an area? Would that be an area of concern for you if you were a Laker fan?
Yeah, I think it has to be. I think the depth of this team. I think they play a lot better basketball when they're a taller lineup, but I think the consistency in terms of their role players can really fluctuate. I think Austin Reeves is going to be a very important piece of this year's team, and I think that Dalton Connect with his shooting gives them very good lineups with LeBron and Anthony Davis. At the end of the day, this Lakers team is going to run through those two players. It's just about what you can get consistently from the other pieces. Rui has had a great start to the season offensively, but people are questioning how consistent that can look. And D'Angelo Russell has been flat out bad. I'm sorry. In terms of how he's been offensively, we have not seen D'Lo play at that level. That's why his name is still in trade talks. I think this team is like another wing away from really entering these types of elevated conversations, just because of the lack of reliability from their bench players at times. I also think not having Vanderbilt healthy hurts them because he would add so much to their defense. And, historically, when the Lakers are a very good defensive team, that is when they are a serious threat to consider in the NBA. So that's what they're waiting on.
Yeah. And I agree with that. And my biggest thing with Vando, and I've told Laker fans this, like, I understand the appeal. Like, I understand like he's gonna obviously move your perimeter defense, and just and his versatility on the defensive side will help y'all tremendously, especially when it comes to if someone happens to get past him, having to deal with Anthony Davis in the paint. Or LeBron playing weak side, help side, and getting his the famous LeBlocks at the age of 65. But the thing about Vanderbilt that always puzzled me was on offense. Now, if he comes back with a reliable, and here's the thing, a player like Vanderbilt all he needs is a reliable. Back me up here, reliable corner 3-point specialist, something like that. Like
exactly,
that's all you need. If you can't shoot from anywhere else on the court, not even free throws, nigga, at least be able to shoot from the easiest spot on the 3-point line. That's it. You see remember guys like Andre Roberson back in the day couldn't shoot for shit. But if everybody was rolling and Russ and Katie and the boys and they were striking and they needed and he was out there locking up and grabbing boards, if they left him open in the corner and he was knocking down at least 2-3 a game, that could be the difference maker. Vanderbilt, it was almost it was almost very puzzling to watch him be a part of that offense because he essentially just clogged everything that they were trying to do because he didn't add to what the other four guys had essentially. So you mix that with D'Lo's poor production, it could be a recipe for disaster. So I'm interested to see if D'Lo ends, like you said, D'Lo in trade talks could end up, being traded, come trade deadline season. Who knows? We'll see. But yeah, I think the Lakers are one more missing piece, and that might be at the sacrificial part of a guy like D'Angelo Russell, of a guy like, I mean, they can move off of Cam Reddish. Fuck is he doing? Like, I'm gonna be so honest with you, Cam Reddish being there, it has been underwhelming.
I think Cam Reddish has been underwhelming based on whatever realistic expectations you put on him, but I think still, like, shoot, even last night, how he was playing defensively, just the size and length is something they need. The problem is consistency. Like, they don't have enough consistent two-way players on a night-to-night basis. But last night, I would argue Cam Reddish actually needed more minutes because of the way he was impacting the game. But instead, the pivot was not really to give him that much time, right? So to me, just adding on to that variable is what will make this team more dangerous.
Okay. Yeah. I can get behind that. So, Gifted, do you have the standings pulled up? Let's transition.
I sure do have the standings pulled up. I want to say
we're gonna play a game called before you go get to, we're gonna play a game called Overreaction, or wait, what's it called? Overreaction, overrated, you know what I'm getting at. Like, should we overreact based off of the Cavs being 8-0? Should we overreact based off the Nets being the 4th seed, which we all know?
I forgot the name of the game. Is it overrated, underrated?
I forgot. Chat. What am I trying to think of right now? Is it overreaction, proper reaction, something like that? Somebody give me a title, and we're gonna roll with that for this segment. Go ahead, Gifted. Go ahead.
Yeah. So what I wanted to say was, specifically for the Eastern Conference, there's only 2 teams above 500 right now.
From the East? Yeah, it's
from the East.
Celtics. Yeah, you're right. Yep.
That's it. Every other team is either 500 or under 500 in the Eastern Conference. There's only 2 teams that are still undefeated: the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Oklahoma City Thunder. Cleveland has looked like a phenomenal monster squad team. First off, shout out to Kenny Atkinson. He was on our team last year, and I said coming in Kenny Atkinson is going to be better at the offensive side, and Cleveland has looked like a marvel offensively, man. They've been very, very good. Darius Garland is having the revenge season a lot of people thought he couldn't have, and they're humming, right? Evan Mobley is getting utilized way more. They have way more creative staggers to really get the best value out of all 4 of their players, and the Cavs are humming right now.
Yeah.
Really good hoops.
Yeah. I'm loving what I'm seeing from the Cavs. And look, Chilltown, let me give him credit. Love OG. I'm going to give Chilltown credit because he was one of the first panelists that I saw. Maybe, and I'm not saying he was the only one, but he was one of the first panelists that was really like, y'all better watch out for Cleveland before the season started. Now, for me, I was not necessarily on the fence, but I was like 50-50 split. I was like, yeah, I understand what the organization is doing. They trust in this core, and they want to see it play out. I got no issue with that. Plus, Kenny Atkinson, love him. Great addition. They tried JB Bickerstaff, didn't work out. Let's roll the dice and see what happens. Donovan Mitchell also being the playoff riser that we know him to be, and we know he's the guy that can show up for the team, the one guy that you can bank on that's going to show up in some capacity. All he needed was a running mate. Darius Garland and Damian Lillard getting into it the other night or last night in the shootout.
That was so lit, bro.
Crazy work. I was watching the game too. I was like, yo, you mean to tell me? Because here's the thing. No Giannis, the Bucks needed that win. They really did. Nobody expected them to get it, given the circumstances, but they needed that win. Damian Lillard went out there and was taking you back to Portland Dame. Fourth quarter, Damian Lillard, step back 3, step back mid-range. And the fact that Darius Garland was the one that was coming up and just letting that shit fly or getting to the cup or getting to a spot, because like Gifted has pointed out numerous times on this show, the perimeter defense of the Milwaukee Bucks is doggy do. So that means that anytime that you have an opposing guard that may be struggling, nigga might have had 7 points the night before, you can go ahead and pencil them in for 23 or more. if you look across
Real
the
talk.
way and they got Damian Lillard guarding them on the perimeter. No shade to Dame because we know he can get his, but I mean, damn, they need Patrick Beverly, Lonzo, even with his new leg and everything. They need all of that. So let me just say this about Cleveland. Cleveland is looking like the one team that we should have been talking about more than New York, that we should have been talking about more than Philadelphia. Because the one thing that
I was saying that. I was saying that all season too, bro.
You was. Shout out to Gifted. And listen, I'm a man that can admit when he was wrong. I'm not saying I was necessarily wrong in this instance because I had Cleveland like right outside of those teams. But
yeah,
you know,
you did.
Like I didn't look at Cleveland like, damn, they're gonna start out 8-0. My bad. But here's the thing. How long do you think they can sustain this? Because what we've seen from them so far and the teams that they've beaten, like there's been a couple teams that you're like, okay, good shit. But for the most part, do you look at this team the same way that you look at like the Boston Celtics last year and how they started off? Like just kind of like they gonna run away with regular season wins or something like that.
Well, the Cavs started out blowing out a lot of teams. And to me, how good you are of a team is based on night to night. What can I expect from you? What sets you apart from all of the other teams? And the fact that they're top 5 in both defensive and offensive rating to start the season is a very big deal, right? I think a lot of why they've been so positive in terms of a net team is because of what they do on both ends and how they find their identity. Evan Mobley is a legitimate defensive player of the year talks already, right? And keep in mind, this is a team where Donovan Mitchell hasn't had the Donovan Mitchell stretch yet.
Yep.
Darius Garland has been the main hooper for them so far, and that's actually scary considering we know what Donovan Mitchell can get to very, very quickly. He's one of the most explosive scorers in the league. So I like this team. They're going to lose the game at some point. No team can go super undefeated for a long time outside of the elite regular season teams. They almost got had by the Bucks, but obviously crazy shot from Donovan, and they're still undefeated. So I can't wait to see how this shapes up for them in terms of can they be similar to the Celtics last year. I still find that hard to believe just because when the Celtics were healthy on the floor with their core 5, they were damn near like an unbeatable team. They only lost like one game at home all year last year for the most part. That's how dominant this Celtics team really was. So for me, I'm going to say no. But in terms of regular season success, it wouldn't surprise me if they did reach that level, though.
Okay. Yeah, for me, I'm the same way. Like I look at them and I say, we're it's only we're only less than 7 games in, less than 8 games in. But what we can see is that something we already knew. The Western Conference has always just been better than the East. That's not something that's surprising. You see 2 winning teams in the Eastern Conference and you see 8 winning teams in the Western Conference. If that. So for me, if I had to think about what the Cleveland Cavaliers could do and look to do this year, is sustain that top five for offense and defense, which they can, I believe, if they stay healthy. The thing that I'm enjoying the most about this so far is I think that the Cavs are that one team that nobody was really talking about, because when you look at the Oklahoma City Thunder, they're 7-0. They haven't lost a game either, but we kind of expected them to pick up right where they left off, if not get better, because of the acquisitions of Isaiah Hartenstein, which makes the Thunder more scary because he hasn't been playing, and they're still a dominant defense. I don't know if you saw the what game was it? It was OKC versus I forgot which game I was watching. I'm blanking. But the defense was just insane. From SGA to J-Dub to Alex Caruso to Lou Dort. Like
OKC versus the Magic?
It might have been the Magic. Yeah, it was the Magic.
Okay.
So in that game alone, going into it, I'm thinking to myself, all right, this is a good test. This is a good let's see how good the Magic really are, how good their defense could be. And Shea got away with dropping like less than 23 points that night, and they still walked away comfortably. Like that's how scary that team is for the Western Conference. And with SGA leading the way as poised as he is, Lord have mercy. But that's what makes the Cavs to me so interesting, because you look at the Celtics, they only lost a game, but they're still as dominant as we thought they'd be. The Oklahoma City Thunder is the same way. But I thought the Knicks would start off better than Cleveland did, but look how that's turning out. They're still trying to put the pieces together to figure out just who everybody is and what their roles are. But man, Cleveland, shout out to Cleveland, shout out D Mitch, shout out Spider. Hopefully, my man, if they can stay consistent, hopefully Spider's in MVP conversations. Not saying I hope him to win it, but hopefully he's in the conversation.
I want to ask you something real quick.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I call a diamond tester question. Okay. Do you believe the Denver Nuggets are as bad as their record might say they are?
No. But I don't think that the Nuggets, like I still feel like the Nuggets are in some sort of trouble. Now, because it's been less than 10 games, I don't know how much trouble, but I will say, to your point, like just for me watching a few Denver Nuggets games so far this season and seeing them lose a couple, they're sitting at 4-3. Russell Westbrook has had, I think, his last 2 games have been pretty solid. I think over 20. Russ started off the year shooting horribly, which is not surprising to anybody. It wasn't surprising to me, but I also thought to myself, I didn't think like, oh yeah, take Russ off the team. Once he gets comfortable, once he figures out how to, and here's the thing, he's had these great games with Jamal Murray being out of the lineup. Aaron Gordon just went down. Aaron Gordon's going to be out missing a couple weeks. I just found out earlier as well. So their starting lineup, they're going to have changes in that. So that could keep them in trouble. But as far as sustainability, once everybody's healthy, an issue that I have with this team is their depth. I had the same issue last year. Them getting Russell Westbrook doesn't put them over the top because you still need the talent to have off the bench. You still need that. Them having Christian Brown in the games and trying to say that he's going to replace KCP is straight bullshit. But Christian Brown, if he's more aggressive offensively, could just only help that offense more, right? We talked about the 2-man game of Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic and how that's always their bread and butter. And it works with Aaron Gordon playing drop or being able to be a lob threat when needed. So all of those issues aren't really issues for the Denver Nuggets. It's the depth. That's what it is. It's also the fact that in the last 3 years, since they won the championship, at least, we've seen them lose Bruce Brown. We've seen them lose KCP, and their roles and their shoes for the team, like the fill, that's something that they've been trying to replace year by year. And they tried to do it with Bruce Brown, and it didn't work. It almost kind of worked with Christian Braun, but not the same. KCP now, they're doing the same thing with Christian. And so Christian spots now being taken up by Russell Westbrook. You see what I'm saying? Like they're in a situation where it's like it's always putting a Band-Aid over something. And that's how I think that their seasons are going to go. They're going to be banking on Nikola Jokic to do his thing for sure. He's going to provide the stats. But Jamal Murray's also got to be as consistent as he was in 2023, as he was for Pistons last year, especially down the stretch. Like this is what they're going to need to be able to have a sustainable team. So I think that to answer your question, I think that they're in trouble, but how much, I don't know. We're going to have to see.
Yeah, I gotta say this. I'm concerned about Denver.
Yep.
I said this coming in. The depth of their team was in question. A lot of it comes down to the leaps that we see Christian Brown take as a starter, with Julian Strawther and Peyton Watson also taking those leaps off their bench. I already said the Dario Saric signing was something that didn't really make much sense to me because Dario cannot play the backup 5. He's a terrible defensive player. He can give you some offensive impact, sure, but he can't play next to Jokic. And if you come off the bench and you just cannot fit with the other player and you're not a backup replacement for that player either, it limits the value you bring to your unit. Jamal Murray has not looked good really since the playoffs, so we're being honest. I mean, he's had some moments here or there during the regular season where he's hit some shots here, sure, but he still has not looked great. Aaron Gordon just got injured, so he's going to be gone for multiple weeks. And this team is, I believe, second in terms of paint points in the league, meaning teams, when they play Denver, are getting to the paint very easily. So if he's gone now, your best defender is missing. You don't really have super great perimeter defensive players either. And now Jokic is going to be further exposed as a defensive player at the basket, where he's not really rim deterring. He's allowing people to come to the paint and hoping his IQ can help him get, basically lose balls here or there. So I'm actually very concerned for them. The spacing is abysmal. the fact that Aaron Gordon was like the third best shooter on this team
is a problem.
Is also nasty because now he's gone. So now it's like you even have worse spacing, I would say, than before. And I know their record is 4-3, but if you watch these games, there are so many games where it's like, dude, you're in a dogfight
with the Brooklyn Nets, with the Toronto Raptors.
Yes,
like that's what it is. I had the same exact thought. I was like, is this
exactly
the Nuggets that, you know what I'm saying? And then you end up.
And these games are being decided by like game winners. Like one, like anything could have happened if they called the foul the right way, the no call, you know, like that. That's how close these margins are. So to me, it's like if they're really this good team, you don't have games like that this early on.
That's what I'm saying. And this is another thing too. You know, somebody said in the chat earlier, I forgot who it was. They talked about the Warriors starting off like 5-1 last year and all that shit. When you leave out the context, makes sense. But when you insert the context, you think, okay, the games that they dropped, Draymond was out for suspension, right? This season, when you look at them and the teams that they've faced, people will say, well, they're beating easy teams. They're not beating them easy teams the same way that Nikola Jokic and the Nuggets are beating the Nets. Like they're mollywopping teams. Like there's a difference. Me being a Washington Commanders fan, shout out my MVP Jaden Daniels. Me being a Washington Commanders fan, right, and having to hear that from other football fans telling me, oh well, like who have they faced? They've had an easy schedule, and I say to them, they put up 42 points on the Cardinals and put up 40 points the next week on the next opponent. That's how. Like you could say they're beating bad teams, but it's how they're beating bad teams. It's not
the margin of how you do it.
They're not beating them by a touchdown, Hail Mary, or field goal. They're beating them by 7 scores. Like that's how it is. That's how you can judge just how good or average a team might be. That's what it is. When I look at the Golden State Warriors, for example, that team is deep. That team runs not just through Steph Curry. The fact that the Warriors were able to go 3-0 without Steph Curry gifted last year, Lord have mercy. Thank the heavens. This year, the production of Buddy Hield, I said it going into this year, Buddy Hield is going to have a career year. I said also I would not be surprised if Buddy Hield was averaging north of 20 points per game this year, like something out of what he was doing in Sacramento or Indiana or even in college with the amount of freedom that he has in this offense. The Warriors offense will unlock anybody. It unlocked Andrew Wiggins for a championship run. It unlocked Harrison Barnes. It unlocked Andre Iguodala. It unlocked guys like Sean Livingston. Shit, like this offense is great for certain players that fit the mold of what it is. Slow-mo, for example, Slow-mo know his role, but what he's able to do with the unit that he's running with guys like Moses Moody, right, with guys like Lindy Waters, like being Jackson Davis, right. Kevon Looney in spurts, like the way that it all fits is what helps them stay in and be able to contain their opponent. The Denver Nuggets are playing this battle of where it's like, well, shit, Jokic, go on an 8-0 run, or Jokic and Jamal, run off 12 straight. We're gonna need 2 straight Michael Porter Jr. threes because
or please give us 22 points on great efficiency, Russell Westbrook versus the Nets, right? Like, you know, like that.
Yeah, like that's where they're at. And I love Russ, I do. But even the biggest Russell Westbrook fan will tell you if you told him Russ is messing up the spacing, they'd understand. Like that's just what it is. But like I said, the Denver Nuggets are in a spot where they lost valuable pieces that helped them be a championship contender in the last couple of years, which sucks. And now they're in a situation where you got to make do with what you got. But the system that they have, like you said, the Dario Saric signing. Dario Saric is a great pick and fade option. Maybe 4 rebounds. Maybe. But if you want an interior presence to deflect some shit or contest some shit, it's not your guy. You need somebody to shuffle his feet while guarding Karl Anthony Towns. It's not your guy. Like
I agree.
So you want a guy that you can put next to Nikola Jokic, a guy who we've talked about his defensive deficiencies or in certain spots with mobility and things like that. Like he's not your guy. So what they're gonna have to make do with what they got with Strawther and Peyton Watson. Like you're gonna want great things out of them, but it's all about the production at that point. Like the Warriors have more of those guys where it's like, yeah, like me and you talked about it before this season. We want big years from Kuminga. We want big years from Pods. We want good years from, a good year from Moses Moody. And those things are being able to be played out because of the system that they have and the chemistry and all those things. And you see the offense as a unit. You see them playing team defense, right? They're playing as a unit, which lets you see just how deep that team runs. The Denver Nuggets, you can't say the same thing for, which is unfortunate. It's genuinely unfortunate.
And now they lose Gordon, which is like, so far, you could argue he's been their second best player, and he's gone.
Yes, you could.
Yeah. And their schedule gets harder too.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be interesting.
Look, I'm telling you right now, the one player that I've seen have the most like 30+ point games and lose so far this year has been Brandon Ingram for some reason. But I would not be surprised if that person became Nikola Jokic in the next couple of weeks, where you're seeing him put up 40 and 20 and 12 and losing by 7, and it's a problem. Like, you're over here looking for Jamal Murray to step up to the plate. For me, another thing that really puzzles me about this Denver Nuggets team is the defense gifted. Like, I'm gonna be so with you. Like, that's another thing that you have to take into account with this team and losing pieces. Like, Bruce Brown was a solid perimeter defender. KCP was a great perimeter defender, and they also played their roles to a T in what you needed them to do. Bruce Brown, when he was there, was a spark plug guy. You're asking a 35-year-old Russell Westbrook, who continuously is getting worse and worse from the field and worse from three. Like, I've never seen a player be in the 20s for both field goal and 3-point percentage, but other than Russ. And he's going to take them, and that's cool. But that's really all that you can ask of Russ in a situation where the bench unit is depleted. Like, who else is going to take these shots? If I'm Russell Westbrook, that's what I'm saying. Like,
look, I got numbers for if you want the numbers, because okay. So these are their defensive numbers. Are you ready for this?
Okay.
Effective field goal percentage. What did the opponent effectively shoot from the field? Denver specifically. They are allowing a 54.3 effective field goal percentage. They rank 18th in the NBA in that, right? At the rim, they rank 21st in the league. Shots within 4 feet of the basket. Teams are shooting 67.5% from the field at the rim when they play Denver. That's not good. Dang. The short mid-range area, which is still in the paint, 27th in the NBA, 47.9% on short mid-range shots so far in the league. And then for all mid-range shots, period, they rank 20th. So these are just areas where it's like, if you can't get stops and your offense isn't as dynamic as a firepower as it was before, it really does come into question how good of a team you can be. Now, as of right now, they do have the best offensive lineup by the numbers, but even that can bleed value as the game wanes on. So I have a lot of questions, man. Did I I had Denver, I think, as like my 5 seed coming in because of all the changes. I think they'll still make the playoffs, but it's really looking so, especially with Aaron Gordon being out. I want to read you the next couple games they have. Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
OKC is next.
They're cooked.
Miami.
Close one, but they're cooked.
Dallas.
Okay, Dallas is a wild. We're gonna get into Dallas. Wild. That's up in the air. That's up in the air.
Okay.
If Dallas,
they have the Pelicans.
I
think they beat the Pelicans personally.
I think I would say the Pelicans. They're not as good as advertised.
Yeah.
So far.
Then you have a back-to-back versus Memphis. 2 games in a row.
Oh, Jod barbecue chicken.
And you got Dallas again.
Damn.
And then the Lakers.
LA getting a get.
Then the Knicks.
They might beat the Knicks, maybe.
Like but God, like,
damn, that is
yes, they're playing some pretty good teams, is what I'm saying. Like, so
that is wild. Look, like you said, it couldn't have been worse timing with the Gordon injury.
Absolutely, yeah.
For me, I agree with you on the point of them making the playoffs, but on the point of them making noise in such playoffs, hell nah, man.
No,
hell no.
I'm not there with that either.
Sorry. And the thing that pisses me off the most is I remember in 2022, you know, when Jokic had won his second MVP. No, that was his second. Joel's was 2023. So when he won it, I remember thinking to myself, well, if he gets a championship, which he eventually got next year, I was like, are we entering the Jokic era? You know, like that was a topic of discussion because they looked at him and they said, you know what? Once he gets his core back healthy, they added Aaron Gordon. The team looked good. They won the championship. And then we were actually wondering who was going to be able to stop Nikola Jokic from getting to the finals. And lo and behold, it was the CBA that stopped Nikola Jokic from reaching another NBA finals, going to stop him from reaching another NBA finals. Because look, what the CBA has done to teams, small market teams like the Denver Nuggets, is crazy. And Michael Porter Jr. said it, man. One more failed attempt and a breakup is evident, bro. It's evident.
Yeah, we got to see exactly how that pans out. But that takes us to another surprise. We didn't really break it down like that, but dude, the Bucks, Milwaukee,
shit.
Like, listen, I could buy people saying they weren't as high on the Bucks before the season, but anyone have them as the literal worst team in the conference? They're literally the worst team in the Eastern Conference, which damn near translates to the worst team in the league. They're 1-6 right now.
Yeah, and look, here's my thing, and I've said it before, bro. Like, Giannis Antetokounmpo is a player that I feel like the media, is at one point tried to make like the NBA's, darling, adorable superstar or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like with the Giannis jokes and the Greekus Freakus and all that shit. Like, and he was dominant and he was winning MVPs and depoys and all that. And you look at the Milwaukee Bucks when they won the championship. The core that they had, Drew Holiday, Giannis, Chris Middleton, Brook Lopez, Bobby Portis, they were able to identify themselves within a core. And then over the years, right, Drew Holiday is the only one that goes. They still have Brook Lopez. They still have Bobby Portis. They still have Giannis. They have Damian Lillard. Now, in the first year of the Damian Lillard show, they were a top 3 seed in the Eastern Conference when they fired their first year head coach in Adrian Griffin. And I said it then, and I will say it now, and I will die on this hill. Stupid, stupid, stupid decision. People were saying at the time and trying to justify it. Well, they couldn't play defense. Doc Rivers is the answer to defense in 2024.
Yeah, I for the life of me, that's
what are we talking about? What? And then you mean to tell me that they're 1-6, 1-7 now? 1-7 now at the bottom.
1-6, I believe. Yeah.
1-6. So at the bottom of the conference, arguably worst team in basketball, not even better than the Detroit Pistons, right? And on the sideline, they got Darvin Ham and Doc Rivers buddied up, hands in pockets or hands on heads, wondering what's going on, looking like a deer in headlights. And for me, I've seen people say, Giannis brought this on himself. Giannis brought this on himself. And the way I look at it is, 2 things can be true. But at the same time, Giannis also has warned them for a while. Look, if shit starts going south, I'm out of here. I've been here since 2012, 2013. Like I got my MVPs. I got church. I got the city of championship. I got the finals MVP. Dropped the 50 piece in Game 6. Like, I've done everything I needed to do in a Bucks jersey to be able to be warranted and say, or justified and say, I want to leave. So that's something that teams are looking out for right now, Gift. The teams around the league are just eyeing the Milwaukee Bucks and waiting to see the ship sink. And honestly, It is a hilarious thing for me. It would be very crazy if Dame ended up in Milwaukee alone. Like, that would be
wild, bro. That would be wild. Like imagine if Giannis gets traded to Miami, the team Dame wanted to go to, but was traded to the Bucks for instead. That would be a wild flip, man. Truly.
Man, that would be. And let me tell you something. Let me ask you this question, because I haven't seen a lot of people talking, and the Warriors are somehow floating around in this conversation. Would you want to see Giannis in a Golden State uniform?
Of course, that's not a question, but I live in a world of reality. This man Giannis is like top 10 in salary.
Yep.
How does Golden State trade for him? You have to give up pretty much everything, all the picks, all the players. You got to really nickel and dime it. And I just think there's other teams in the league that, if it came to a Giannis trade, would probably have more probably have better assets than we do.
Yeah. That's another thing that I was thinking of too. Is like, shit. If we still had Jordan Poole, we might be able to match that shit. but we already shipped that man off. Yeah. So I don't know what's gonna happen with that at all. But
I don't think he gets moved in season because it's just too much.
No. I don't think he gets
fit.
moved in season. If he does get moved in season, it would
be so wild, bro.
On some Kevin Durant, Kyrie, James Harden, Brooklyn Nets shit. Like,
yeah, that would be crazy.
Like, move me immediately. But look, I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, we've talked about what went wrong. I talked about it when Dame got there. It's not a matter of anybody saying Drew Holiday is a better player than Damian Lillard. It's a matter of what you need as a franchise. Some people made the argument of, well, Drew Holiday taking 18 shots a game in the playoffs is not what you need to win a championship, or is probably why he ended up getting traded. Okay, cool. Damian Lillard is shooting barely 41% from the field throughout the postseason in his career. Barely 41%. I think he's shooting worse than James Harden is, and we know what stigma he has in the postseason, right? So take that how you want. But Dame in the postseason is great in certain instances, but not all the time. He doesn't rise to the occasion to the level of a Steph Curry or a LeBron or a KD or even, in this case, a James Harden. So you're asking that to be put – obviously, this is a different look because he's a second option next to Giannis, so it's an interesting situation. But what are you sacrificing in order to make this move? Perimeter defense. That's a problem.
Yep.
Like that's something that people think, oh, defense is overrated. Nah, nigga. Giannis then dropped 40 how many times this season? Or 35 plus how many times?
Bro, Giannis and Dame combined for 70 points, I think multiple times, and they still have not
lost.
Yeah.
So we're in an era now where you can score and that shit cute, but that
you gotta have defense.
in the end. And to your point about the Dallas Mavericks, when you were talking about the Nuggets, the reason why I say the Nuggets have a shot is because the Dallas Mavericks defense is suspect. And the game I watched last night with them versus the Indiana Pacers, bro.
Pacers was going crazy.
When I tell you it went exactly how I thought it was going to go, it went exactly how I thought it was.
Ooh, I just looked up the Bucks numbers. Jesus, man.
Read them off.
All right. I want you to guess where they rank in terms of offense.
Okay. Top 10 to 15 range.
21st in offense, 110.
20. Oh. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I thought 100 offensive. Okay, I got you.
Yeah,
I got you.
110.7 points per possession. They're the 21st ranked offensive team in the NBA.
Damn.
Now, defensively, where do you think they rank?
25th or worse.
26th team in the NBA, okay. 119.4 points per possession. Jesus.
Look, when you got top 20 range offense and defense, it's not a good
And they're the worst team in the NBA in terms of turnovers as well.
Man.
Jesus Christ.
And here's another thing, too, that people have told me to take into consideration. There is no Chris Middleton. Okay, nigga, Chris Middleton and his, like, let me remind you who I am tour has officially ended. Nigga. Like Chris Middleton coming back to this team is not going to save them. You're talking about a guy that has had injuries to the lower half of his body, and you're going to ask him to be mobile on defense, and that be the answer? You might as well ask for Klay Thompson, nigga.
I just think they're too old, and they don't have that much athleticism outside of Giannis.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, they don't. They don't. Bobby Portis is not the defender that he was 4 years ago, 5 years ago. Like, Brook Lopez is not the same defender he was 3 years ago. He's getting older. Giannis is a freak of nature. So you expect that from him. And Damian Lillard hasn't been asked to play defense ever. So, like, it's a situation where it's a tough slate. And like I said before, people saying that Adrian Griffin, wasn't the answer on defense. Like, defense to me, like, the thing that if people thinking that coaches just because of their name value or just because they're there are going to make these motherfuckers play defense better. No, bro. It is about the personnel that you have.
Yeah.
You had Drew Holiday. Now, if you mean to tell me that you think that the Bucks would be in the same scenario or Adrian Griffin would have still lost his job had he had Drew Holiday last year instead of Damian Lillard, you out your mind. Derek White, a player of that caliber, that would help this team, right? Like, that's what you need, essentially. That is what Cam Reddish. We just talked about him. That's a player that you would need. They got Torian Prince, Darvin Ham's favorite, and they ain't doing shit. He ain't doing a damn thing. So, the Kelly Oubre's, the DeAnthony Meltons, hell, the Marcus Smart at this stage in his career, off the bench as a backup point guard would be something that'd be worth noted for if you are a Milwaukee Bucks fan. Like, these are the things that you need. That is what you need. So, it's crazy to me. It's genuinely crazy to me.
Yeah. I really got to see how this team bounces back because, I mean, there's so many other teams in the league playing better basketball than them right now. I've heard a lot of people talk about should they fire Doc Rivers if this continues. I don't know what should happen with that because if you fire Doc Rivers again, it's like, okay, so you're telling me that you fired Bud, who was a good system coach. The team knew how to be a good regular season team, but because they lost as an 8 seed in the playoffs sorry, as a 1 seed in the playoffs to a 8 seed, you said, okay, Bud has to go. Okay. Yeah. You then bring on a different coach. You're 30-13 under this coach, even though I will say he looked like a very suspect coach. A lot of those games, they were in dogfights with very bad teams, and they weren't a great team. You get Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers still has not had a positive record to be better than the 30-13 you got from Adrian Griffin. So now if you fire Doc, it's like, okay, we're not a good team. We fired Doc, and now your head coach now becomes like how you go from Doc Rivers? How do you go from Mike Budenholzer to Adrian Griffin to Doc Rivers and then to Darvin Ham? Because Darvin Ham is the assistant, which means he will become the head coach. So for me, I'm looking at all of those things, and it's like it looks like y'all don't know what y'all doing if you fire Doc Rivers.
And what does that mean for Giannis Antetokounmpo, a damn near 30-year-old, or is Giannis 30 now? 29, 30, 31 range, like that's where he is.
Yeah.
And you're talking about a guy that would be almost exiting his prime, or maybe kind of exiting the peak of his climb.
4 head coaches in like 2 years.
4 head coaches in a 2-year span is not a good recipe. And here's
crazy.
I've said it before. The NBA has a problem with jumping the gun on certain coaches and things like that. They've had that issue for like the last 7 years or so, where you don't give a guy time to either grab the hold of the locker room or get enough burn. For Adrian Griffin, in his case, to be 30-13 in your first 43 games as a head coach, no matter, I don't care what you say. Yeah, the defense is an issue. Great. That's something that you can wait and see play out for the remainder of the year based off the start that you have so far. Like Steve Nash becoming a head coach was an issue because the hype wasn't matching the production that you got from that Nets team when it came to the win column and things like that. And if it was in certain spurts where you could see he had issues calling timeouts. He had issues with rotations, things like that. For me, the audacity of the Milwaukee Bucks front office to go from Adrian Griffin, who had that great start, to Doc Rivers, that's a slap in the face. If I was a Milwaukee Bucks fan, that would be a slap in the face to me, because you're meaning to tell me that you're giving up on the Rook for a guy that's living off of a 15-year-old championship ring for the Boston Celtics. That's a problem to me. And some people said that they thought that it would be a great idea and that they would see results, and we've seen no results from that. They've literally probably arguably gotten worse under Rivers. So that's an issue. That's a backfiring move on the part of the Milwaukee Bucks. And then, like you said, Gifted, you don't even have to go to Adrian Griffin. You can go back to where it all started with the firing of Mike Budenholzer, a guy that had the locker room, a championship level coach who had just won you a championship 2 years prior, if that. So if I'm the front office, ride it out with Mike Budenholzer until Giannis leaves, or until Chris Middleton leaves, or until Chris and Drew leave. Like that's when you say, okay, yeah, it's time for you to depart too. Like the moment that they fired Mike Budenholzer was the moment that shit started to roller coaster, and the effect just went down.
Agreed.
And left and right. And that's the issue for me. Like that's the moment that this shit went south, was when they let Mike Budenholzer go. And now they're living with it. They have no choice but to. Y'all want a Dame for sure. Y'all Y'all can have that. Y'all can have that 30 piece. Y'all can have that. Y'all can have that 30 piece with the 5 piece on the side, and Giannis with 37 and 18 boards. You can have all that, but you won't have this win, unfortunately. Like
Unfortunately,
that's like you just sold your soul to the devil. I'm sorry. We're gonna give you the individual accolades and all the stats, and yeah, but you ain't getting wins, buddy. And Chris Middleton is literally street clothes at this point, so that's damaged goods. What value do you have there if you try to trade him by the time he gets back? What value does he provide to the team if he comes back offensively or defensively where they really need it? Because offensively, they don't seem to like really need it. They could use it in stretches for sure.
yeah.
But defensively is where they really need to put the nail in the coffin, because like just Rome said, defense wins championships.
It does. Yeah.
It does. Like, let's be real. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been a great show. We were going to
Great show. Yeah.
I was going to bring on a guest, but I think I'm going to bring him on maybe on Thursday, maybe next week actually. Try to get Mars Mazanin up in here, my boy, my British boy. We're probably going to get him on in an episode or two, talk about the Houston Rockets, talk about Reed Shepard, Alpha Ren.
Fake Houston fan, fake
Houston fan.
fake. Yeah.
Hey, we know. We already know Gifted. They know. the chat know. But yeah, we gonna try to get Mars on here and see what he's talking about. This has been a great show. Close it out for me. Let the people know where to find you and all that.
Absolutely, much appreciated. I've been going through a lot of things with my OBS. I got to try to fix up some of those issues, but you can catch me on Playback where I watch games live. If you want to watch NBA games live with me, you can tap in with me there at playback.tv/giftedhoops. And also my YouTube channel where I'm going to have a lot of consistent NBA content coming. I'm actually working on a breakdown video right now of a lot of stuff, film breakdowns and more at Gifted Hoops on YouTube. And I'm on Twitter where I will live react to games and occasionally slander some players at Gifted Hoops _. So all those links, tap in with me.
Yes, sir. You can find me at ZZ Huncho on Instagram, on TikTok. If you follow me on both of those platforms, just know I'm about to start dropping. I'm about to shift my content entirely when it comes to just overall production. I've found some interesting ways to work around my former editing process on my computer, so my shit's going to look a lot cleaner. And I will be dissecting this Milwaukee Bucks thing for sure. Gifted made a lot of great points that I'm probably going to bring up in the video now. Now that I think about it, the Mike Budenholzer point specifically.
Yeah.
And also the Memphis Grizzlies as well. More John Morant praise and appreciation for a man that they tried to distract you with Anthony Edwards with. But it is what it is. John Morant's been hooping, bro. Zach Edey's been hooping as well. He's starting to find his stride. So I'm going to be talking about that, dissecting that along with Warriors content throughout the season. So you can tap in with me there. Other than that, you can tap in with me here on From the Logo Tuesdays and Thursdays, coming to you at 6 p.m. I will also be on the panel very soon, at some point this month, to return for the first time since the IRL panel, which I destroyed alongside my fellow comrades, and Mars. So yeah, you'll see our faces soon. You'll see us on Thursday. I have a guest on Thursday potentially, or maybe next Tuesday. It's my boy. Y'all remember him? If you're OG Players Choice heads, Light Out Sports, my boy. He said he was going to come through for us one time. For y'all OG PC guys, y'all know who I'm talking about. But other than that, have a great Tuesday. It's election night. Go vote if you haven't, if you still can. And we'll see you back on Thursday after the Warriors destroy the Boston Celtics on Wednesday. I hope
there's gonna be a fun ass game on Wednesday too.
I hope they don't bite me in the ass on Thursday. But Warriors about to mollywop. No, I'm kidding. We're gonna see. Y'all be good. Be safe. Enjoy.
Peace out, people.
Love y'all.
Salute.